Welcome. I hand you over for your presentation. We can't hear you, Dr. Burton. Technical team. Can you hear us, Professor Burton?
Kan nie.
Leandra? Okay, we can hear you, I think. You can go ahead and speak.
I have tried. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. You can continue your presentation, Professor Burton.
Okay, thank you. Leandra is going to share her screen, but I think she's actually not connected right now. Okay, I will, oh, there we go. Leandra to share the screen. Otherwise, we're going to have the complexity of two screens. All right, crossing fingers that this will come right in a second. Let me just begin introducing support.
She started talking, all sound went off stage.
Based on a project that we have been put by. The program is Advancing Early Career Researchers and Scholars. And what we are planning to do today is to introduce to you particularly two developments that we have provided through that program. So Leandra, if you can share your screen. Okay. Right, there we go. Okay, thank you. So, as I say, this is the title. It is about building capacity, and been working on this program for some years. So, Leandra, if you could just skip to the next slide. And as I say, supported by now DSI, originally then DST, and working through Universities South Africa. Next slide, please. The program started because there was a study done on reports of early career scholars, and we started with a report which was done funded by the DST and also a ministerial task team report. And then we spent some time doing a very detailed study of what those reports were telling us, what universities were telling us, and what other agencies such as the NRF and DHET were telling us about what we thought, what we should be building, what was needed. And we established this program out of that. Next slide. So we identified through all of our detailed research and those programs themselves, the fact that there were some areas of concern around teaching, supervision training, and capacity across the sector, not enough supervisors, and a need to improve the quality of supervision. And then also a strong need for mentorship for early career academics who really were seeking guidance and wisdom. And then also, based on that, how early career researchers could develop themselves using resources that were available. And also, another thing which we heard very often from many universities was that although quite a lot of universities have some interventions in place to support early career researchers, there was really no way of monitoring and evaluating the impact of those interventions. So those were the gaps that we first identified. Next slide, please. So we developed 4 particular interventions. The first one, the community of practice, I won't say a great deal, just briefly mention in a moment. It's a community of practice that we developed on postgraduate education and scholarship. The other 3 interventions we will spend a little more detail on, TUSO Connect and TUSO Resources. And then I'll just mention how we are approaching the monitoring and evaluation. Next slide. So this community of practice that we have established is now established and ongoing. We launched it about a year ago, and it is very active at the moment. The focuses are really around what it sounds like, postgraduate supervision and training. And we have looked particularly at how we can enhance the supervisory capacity in the sector by having a community of practice and helping to provide interaction between peers and meetings and so on that will allow us to sustain the sector. It's also an opportunity to share knowledge. Many universities do have very effective interventions, which we can then help to share nationally. And we can help through all of that to develop individuals and institutional capacity in terms of numbers of supervisors available and the impact that they can have. Next slide. So the focus areas for this community of practice are what you will be seeing as obvious, how we can develop supervision capacity, but also the scholarship part of it, what it is to the doctorateness, what do we mean, the theoretical approaches to training, particularly doctoral students, and then how we build in social justice and equity around postgraduate doctoral training. There's an advocacy aspect to it. We have a working group on funding for postgraduates, but an understanding of the impact of what we can do as a community of practice to advocate for postgraduate training. And then we also have a role in coordinating national activities and colloquia. There are some coming up later in the year. The topics that we're focusing on at the moment, research integrity and ethics, which I know is close to the hearts of all librarians, but also student mobility, funding. As I say, we have a working group, supervision quality, mentorship, and we'll mention a lot more about that now. And then we also are looking at certification of masters by coursework and short courses. So I'm going to hand over now, and Leandra is going to introduce to you the 2 online platforms that we have developed. And we developed them by consulting with all of the institutions across all of our universities and asking what it was that they needed and what we could put in place that would assist with helping early career academics to develop themselves. So let me hand over now to Leandra, and she will take you through introducing you to these 2 online platforms. TUSO Connect first.
Thanks very much, Prof. So TUSO Connect is our platform for mentorship. We did a number of months worth of research, and we came to, because initially we were looking at, do we develop it or do we bring in a system that exists? And after our research, we got to four key findings in our research said, bring in a system. The first one is it's very complex. Lots of people start with mentoring and fail in those projects because it's underestimated how complex it really is. It's both soft and hard skills that are necessary for it. The system would need to be an expert information system, and that would need continuous development and to improve. The system would need to be built and reiterated and troubleshooting. And we don't want to frustrate mentors and mentees who are trying to build a relationship and trying to move forward in their careers and give back to because systems don't work. So we decided not to necessarily not doing that to our community that we're trying to help. And then there's a lot of soft skills needed in order to guide mentees. And we then decided, let's look at bringing in a system. So what we found was, after looking at a number of systems, was Wisdom Share. This system is built by experts in mentoring, and they've built a software system. It's not a software company who's built a mentoring platform. And that was really very important to us. There's about 30 years of experience behind the system because I'm going to show you with screenshots on this one. I'll look at the resources platform live, just simply because this is filling in a profile and waiting to be matched. It's not incredibly exciting, but I thought you might be interested in what kind of information we are collecting from the profile. So we would ask you questions like, what is your disciplinary area? You can select more than one if you want. Obviously, in education, people have their main area and they have education or leadership or something in addition to that. So one of our next questions would be your skills and competencies. What do you feel you can contribute, or what do you need help with? And then we also ask you about your hobbies. We're trying to match people on personality, not necessarily on the academic fields, because it shows in research that there's a larger success rate. Just because we work in the same field doesn't necessarily mean that we're a good match to mentor. So the platform, they claim a success rate of 98.6% in matching individuals. We're hoping for around 80 to 90%. Consider that their rate is based on a company culture or one group of culture. We are doing this on a national platform, and so we won't get the same percentage as they have. And then their retention as well. 70% of people who sign up on the platform stay. So we'd be happy with around 60%. 60% of people who didn't have mentors will have mentors. So that's a significant number at the moment in South Africa. There's a whole pathway. You have a start. You sign an agreement and partner on that. It helps you to set goals. In the middle, it kind of fine tunes, and then there's an end to the journey. So it's set up for around a year, but you can obviously continue with the journey outside the platform. This is for people who need help with the journey, but it's not restrictive and you have to do it. Yeah. This is a unique project. We don't know about anyone who is doing something on a scale as big as this for an entire country. It might be out there, we just haven't found it yet. We couldn't benchmark with anybody on this, so we had to see what we could do and find in research and put it together as best we can. The focus right now is to register mentors. So we want as many mentors on the platform as we can get in order to, when we open for mentees, they can get matched quickly. We don't want people sitting around waiting for a mentor for too long. So anybody who is consider themselves a candidate to mentor, please feel free to register on the system. We'll share the links. You are most welcome to do so. The next platform, and I kind of want to focus on this one because I think this would be of interest to the community we are now reaching out to, is the TUSO Resources platform. We built this ourselves with a very, very brilliant team, and it's a website that collects, I just want to open it for you, so we're going to do this one live. We're gathering content and adding it here, and we've very carefully worked on the information architecture behind this. We've done our research there as well. There's a lot of resources, but they're not necessarily labeled as for emerging academics. So we've been gathering that very, very carefully and putting it in one place so they have access to it. We know that if you are an emerging researcher, you might not know what you're looking for. So because you don't know what you don't know. So we've made multiple, I think there's about 5 ways to enter the site on the public front page. You have categories through which you can go, and you'll find things like being successful at supervision, developing your leadership skills, how, access to research publishing, help with that. You can also go in through the resources. Now we're looking at being productive in your research, useful capacity building resources, goal-focused organizations. There's also the visual elements that has some of the same categories for you. If you scroll down a little bit, there you will find I am, who you are, emerging researcher, a member of higher education, or a member of a university, and what you are interested in finding, and then you can add keywords. So that's another way to access, and then we've got another set of access points at the bottom. So we've really tried to make it as easy as we possibly can for you to find information. We've pulled together resources from everywhere, but we do look at localized information so that it makes sense for South African academics and researchers. And we've also made keywords of these, and we've added a lot of open source information. We've really gone out of our way to find open data, open tools, open education resources, and featured that prominently because there's so much out there. So put it in one place for someone to access. So here's our open access. You will see that University of Pretoria has given us this resource. We clearly label it and give them credit for it. And on your right-hand side, you'll see a massive list of keywords. So we're reconfiguring this now. We didn't expect it to grow so big so fast. And we'll see, is this still the good way to, or are we oversharing information? So we're busy looking at that. But you can click into any one. So it's cross-linked. And you can click into any one of them and you will find information on the topic. So if you say writing for publication success, there's currently one article on that. Bridging the gap between researchers and policymakers, there's one article. So you can click through these and find more information. And even on the articles themselves, there's also keywords that hoping to link you and take you to other parts of the site. There's 3 main areas. It's research, and then there's the academics, where we focus on career development, teaching, and supervising others. And then capacity building, where we share the open source. We've made a really big effort to put together a goal-focused organizations page. Just want to brag about this because I think it's amazing. So you've got South African Science Councils and Researcher and National Services all linked together. You can find any of those links in one space. We've put together programs and facilities in research all together in one space. The idea is that you find someone who does the same research as you and link to them. Okay.
Dr. Jordaan, I'm going to ask you to quickly round up. We are running ahead of time.
Okay, no problem.
Half a second.
Okay. Then the only thing left to really discuss at this point is the two-soil monitoring. So I'm going to hand back to Prof. Burton for a quick overview then.
There we go. Thank you. I just needed to be turned back on. So this is very brief, but we have established now a plan for developing the monitoring and evaluation of all of these interventions, our own, and we will be collecting data ourselves, but we will then have a system which is available for other universities to use to monitor the impact of their own interventions. This is new and it's being developed now, but we will keep everybody posted. I think it will be a very useful tool in terms of what we are doing. And then very finally, the last slide shows you the websites of all of this. And my last word is really to invite you, people who understand about resources and about building capacity, to take a look at the resources that your own institutions have already in place that are open access and that you can share. Please contact us. Please offer us what you have. We know that libraries are a very rich source of this kind of resource articles and modules and so on. So you can offer us those programs. We will put them onto our website on the TUSO resources and use them and make them open access for all of the universities in the country. Please feel free to contact us to do that. It is a very sincere invitation to your universities and your organizations to offer us those resources. And then with TUSO Connect, as Leandra said, you are very welcome to log onto the site. Both of these sites are now open and accessible, and you can register as a mentor if you would like to do that. And the community of practices, you can find that on the USAF website, and you would, of course, be free to join the community of practice and interact with us on the activities of that section. So thank you very much. I hope it's been a very quick whirlwind tour, but we're happy to answer any questions. And if you would like to do it by email also, we would be happy to be available. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leandra and Dr. Stephanie Burton, Professor Burton. Can we give the presenters a loud applause? Thank you. That sounds like a very interesting resource for us to embrace. So there is an online question. Would librarians be able to register or mentor on how to discover and use information resources? From Candace, I think. I think I can answer that.
Absolutely, if I may.
Yes,
That's
absolutely. Thank
definitely,
you.
yeah, absolutely. Just take a look at the site. Yeah.
Colleagues, anything from the room? Any questions from the room? So I also would like to, under this session, I also want to invite you for questions and comments for our chair, the president-elect, as well as the former presentation. So yes, Ms. Janet.
Thank you. Yeah, my question is addressed to Dr. Leandra and Professor Burton. Are there incentives for mentors on this program? Thank you.
No, no, it's a voluntary system. And the idea is that the mentees also can do this for free.
It's
It
a
is
paid
supported by
employment.
USAF.
Mrs. Betsy.
Miss.
Miss Betsy, sorry.
Thank you, colleagues. A quick one from my side. In as far as mentees are concerned, it is only for the academics, or can we, as librarians, also be part of this? We aspire to be practitioner researchers. So can you also be mentored?
Yes. If you are a member of a university, then you will have a link through your email address. And that will enable you to register on the system. And we have said it's open to people who would like to be mentored from research organizations and academic institutions. It's not only for academics.
Thank you very much. I think I'm going to stop there. And are there any questions for Charlie? Charlie, you, Ellen? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Charlie, it's impressive, the way first of all, the services and the activities that you have embarked on. So my question is, and I don't know if, but I think we probably had enough time. How do you have a system in place to evaluate, monitor and evaluate the impact of that? And the same question I would also like to ask, if they're still there, as well as how at what point, yeah, the monitoring and the evaluation, and how do we know that we're successful? So, what are your indicators for you to assess this?
Yeah. Thank you, Ellen. Um, so far, we haven't established a monitoring and evaluation system. We don't have one in place. What we are doing, however, is that there's these services when the users that are using the current services, they do give us a reflection and indicate in terms of how can we improve on certain things. But what we're looking at with ICDF, it's on these joint projects that we're currently in, is that we have, like now, if you look at the one with the AI sandbox, we would then have an output that says this is what the practitioners are thinking about it, and we because what they are well also looking at is in terms of how can we embrace it and use it not only in terms of learning but in terms of assessment too. So I think that is an area where we would be looking at growing, because like I'm saying, it's new. We are the ICDF is only 2 years old, and ourselves it's about 3. But that's an area that we would be looking at. Thank you.
So Professor Burton and Dr. Leandra, I think Ellen wants to ask you, so about the monitoring and evaluation. Is there any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, well, our monitoring and evaluation system is not established yet, and we are in the process of consulting with experts who are more expert than we are on what those indicators should be. It's not simple at all. And probably the kind of indicators we decide on will be the kind that you need to gather data for over a period of time. But no, we don't have the indicators set out yet. There are some examples in practice already, but we will try to make them relevant to our local organization.
Thank you. I think there was one other online comment about what is the
Oh, yeah.
age limit and who can take part in the TUSO initiatives.
So, in terms of access to the resources, there's no age limit. If you are associated with a South African organization, a research agency, or a university, you are, it's open, and it's all open access. In terms of TUSO Connect and the mentoring system, we have some criteria for what you need to do to be a mentor, in terms of the fact that you need to be an established and at least partly, well, experienced, and have criteria around having an academic position and having been in it for a short time, a few years.
You colleagues, I want to, if we can
So
give them
we
all a
haven't
round of applause for their presentations, thank them